All right, it's time now to take a look at some of the week's stories that have impacted branding and brands. Branding expert and host of Chatter That Matters, is Tony Chapman. He's joining us now.
Tony, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
All right, this is a big one. You know, Canada, we love our hockey. We sort of live and die by the sort of gold medals at the Olympics. Huge showdown today, Canada-U.S. women's hockey. We won't talk about the men's just yet, but what does this mean for Canada women's hockey and really the psychology of the nation? We're asking our audience today, like, are they taking the afternoon off to watch this game? But what does this mean to Canada?
Nick, I think you really framed it well, the psychology of a nation. We are so wrapped up in the identity of hockey. And it's a unifier. We forget about whether we're liberal or conservative, east or west, pro-oil or not when it comes to hockey. I also think it's a special sport in the sense that we've expanded our population 30% in the last decade. And it's a way of newcomers to realize that part of our identity and our culture is attached to this game. So it invites a whole bunch of new fans in. The concern I always have with it is that, as you said, you win or die by the sword. And if we lose, the psychology impacts Canadians. If we win, hopefully as a unifier, we can start realizing as a country there's a lot of good here. Let's really focus on the positivity and possibilities. And it's really strange. It comes down to a game of hockey, but this has been around for decades and will be decades to come. We are hockey, and we want to be the best in the world.
Now, Tony, the Jays are in Dunedin for spring training. Obviously, that epic run last year in the World Series. How does the franchise capitalize on the success of last year and tie it in with the 50th anniversary?
Well, the 50th anniversary is nonstop giveaways. I mean, every night there's almost an event happening. Yeah. What the Blue Jays are doing, which is so smart, is they're taking all these fans that came on the bandwagon near the end of the season and saying, we want to start creating a habit with you. We want you to give you a sense of belonging. We don't want this just to wait until September to see if we're in the playoff run. So by creating all of these incentives to come out, these little things that I want to grab onto, the bobbleheads and the free hat days and the t-shirt days, what it's really signaling is we want you part of the family. And I think it's very smart of the Blue Jays. What they have to do, though, is bridge the past 50 years and celebrating that, the present, the fact that they own a pennant, and more importantly, that they still after a World Series. And if they're successful in doing that, what you're doing is you're building the long-term value of your franchise versus just being sort of that one-hit wonder where fans come in and out based on your box score.
And you know, Tony, I don't know what it costs the Jays to give away a T-shirt to 15,000 fans at a game or whatever. But once you got a shirt, you're kind of connected, right? You're going to wear that more than once. It's not just the game. I suppose that really keeps people tied in. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that because we got to move on to this next topic before we go here. But Mark Zuckerberg, this is enormous. Social media, it's everywhere. He's testifying at a landmark addiction trial. So where do social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram go from here? Because we know they know the dark side.
Yeah, I mean, reminds me of the old cigarette industry years ago where they were allegedly suppressed a lot of evidence that their nicotine was addictive and they even had doctors on their payroll. Here's the issue for Meta is if it does get surfaced that Zuckerberg, in fact, knew that what they're creating with their algorithms, their Instagram, their filters, all the tools they put in does create this sense of doomsday scrolling behavior, this addiction, the endorphins that you get from scrolling and discovering. I think Meta's in trouble because this is one of the first of many class action suits that'll happen. So what he's hoping is the jury goes, you know what? It's freedom of expression. That's what our Facebook's going to argue. People have a choice. They're going to argue that. But I think the counter to that is, do they really? Are the algorithms that powerful and that tapped into our psychology that, in fact, we are just little fish jumping at the lures in the water that they put out there?
It happens a lot. I mean, you can get lost in an hour very quickly scrolling through social media.
The mental health crisis with youth, you cannot deny. You cannot deny what it's creating, the sense I'm chasing these false social media stereotypes. My day's not as interesting as yours. I'm not as pretty as yours. I'm on a beach this week, and I can tell you more people have their back to the sun, not looking at this glorious sunset, but just taking selfies so that they can say to their friends, look where I am, versus them saying, look where I am.
The human highlight reel.
Difference in psychology is when you focus more about how I'll be validated in the social media versus the experiences that are all around me. As a society, we're in trouble, and that's what this case is going to prove.
Put your phone down and take it all in. Okay, Tony Chapman, we got to leave it there. Really appreciate this. We'll talk to you next week. Tony Chapman from Chatter That Matters podcast. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.